Hey everybody, it's Jason Lucchesi. Welcome to the No Flipping Excuses show. I am so excited that you're here with us. We've got a special guest joining us today that just got his first deal closed with us from a joint venture partnership opportunity. But before we dive in, we talk about all the details of that deal. What I want to do is just remind you, if you're not a subscriber yet to our YouTube channel, make sure you click that button below, click that red button, become a subscriber. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast player, make sure you give us a 5-star review. I'm sure after you hear Mark's deal, you're going to definitely want to do that. And as always, we will continue the conversation well after today's show concludes in the comment section below. So if you have any questions whatsoever, I'll be more than happy to either personally get those questions answered or somebody from the team will, but would love to do that. And also give this video a thumbs up. So without further ado, I've got Mr. Mark with us here. Mark, how are you doing, my friend? Yeah, I'm so happy. I know before we started, I was just letting you know how grateful I am that you're taking time out of your schedule to do this for us, because a lot of people, they like to hear from other folks that are going through the training, going through one of our blueprints, and they just like to hear, oh, well, Mark's doing it. Mark did a deal. That's awesome. And it really motivates and inspires people. So Mark, I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to do this with us today. It really means a lot. So without further ado though, Mark, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself, share like who is Mark and how long have you been in the business? And is there anything you're doing full-time right now as your regular job, or are you in real estate full-time?
Thanks, Jason, for having me. So I've been self-employed in the financial services business of various businesses in the financial services field this is my 34th year this month, actually.
Wow. Congrats.
Yeah. So husband, father of 3. My oldest is 25. My youngest is 19. My wife is self-employed as well. We do some importing, and so I've been doing that with her for 25 years.
Okay.
But I have done various things in real estate, usually on the note side, and not on the fix and flip or the wholesaling, that side. And I became interested in that earlier this year. Started with another group, and I got some good education there, but didn't make any money with them. And as fate would have it, I guess it was through them that I met you guys, and went through your training, and I'm like all in. I mean, I'm 100% all in. This is going to be my full-time thing now. So
that's awesome. I love it.
So yeah, and I mean, I'm convinced that you guys are really in it for all of us together, and I do feel like, really for the first time, because I've been through a lot of different training programs before over the years. You run into all kinds of things when you're self-employed,
right? And
you do go after a lot of shiny bits, So I mean, I've been guilty of that a number of times, too many times, but. You guys have really convinced me that I can feel at home and that I'm part of a team here. So here I am.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I know we talked on the phone. Has it been a few weeks already? I can't believe it's already been a few weeks, maybe a couple weeks, maybe, but anyways, just talking to you on the phone that first time. I love working with people that don't make things like super difficult and, cause imaginary roadblocks. Like when we got on the phone and talked about things, like it was a very smooth conversation. Everything you had the expectations of certain things as well. And it was just a very smooth phone call. And, it's very easy to have somebody feel at home when we're not butting heads and we've got all these scenarios that we're throwing around that may or may not happen. So it's very easy to do that when we've got, when we're working as teammates, because that's the big thing is we always preach family, and we always, preach team. So when you can work together as a team, great things happen. Obviously, your deal got closed, and we're working on another one with you right now. But let's talk about this first deal that we did with you. I know it was a decent sized. It was a 5-figure payday, and we'll get into the numbers here in a little bit. But tell us, how did you come across this deal? What made you feel like, oh, hey, I'm going to submit this to the team so that they can work on it with me and see if we could do some sort of a joint venture on it?
Yeah, so I went through the tax delinquent blueprint training, and then followed those steps. So picked the county, got the list, send out the letters, set up the my FreedomSoft account, got the inbound calls, just as you guys said it would work pretty quickly, and spoke with this homeowner, and she owned the property outright. She wanted to move, but it was interesting because that was not immediately available. And she was not facing an imminent tax sale. I mean, she did have time to get caught up. But in talking with her and going through the tax loan options, without making any judgments up front, because at first I thought, oh, there's not really a lot of pressure on her. She's got some time, and if she's put it off this much time, she's likely to put it off more, and so
Right.
this might not be anything immediately. But as it turned out, going through the tax loan options with her, I mean, she said, well, that number one works for me, so that, or rather, an all-out purchase rather works for me.
Yeah.
So it taught me that, you just follow through and just open up those conversations and don't make a lot of, prejudice. Don't prejudice the outcome, and just just have a conversation. I mean, and that's really what I like to do best.
Yeah.
And then, see where it leads. And in this case, she just wanted to sell outright, and we're able to strike a deal. So this was a JV submission on my part, because I mean, it was my first deal, and I need to know, how those negotiations work, and how to. I mean, I know the MAO, formula, and I put that together. But at the same time, being super accurate, I needed to get confident in that. Being able to have that conversation, when you get pushback on a price, which you're liable to get, I need to be able to have that conversation. And so this was a JV submission, and you guys did a great job.
Awesome. No, I appreciate that. And so one of the big things for people that may not know, maybe they're just watching this on our YouTube channel, or maybe they're listening to it on maybe iTunes or something. Mark, when you did your campaign, were you having to do outbound calls, like cold calling to these people, or how did a lot of these, like, how did you start getting some traction with this? Were they calling you, or how did that happen?
I didn't do any outbound calls, so
All
they were
right.
all inbound calls, and then me following back up, and identifying myself with the name of my company, and that they received a letter. There was a TAC code in that letter. Are you the homeowner? Do you live there? All of those kinds of positioning questions. And that all worked, really well. And, it's absolutely true when you hear in training that they just open up and tell you everything. And so, I mean, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And, I needed to have, so this was out of my area. And one of the reasons that I picked this particular county was because I know somebody there. So I told her that, we needed to get some photos, and she was not comfortable with that. And so I said, well, how about, you walk around and I'll ask you questions and walk around the house with your phone. And if you don't mind if I record this on Zoom, and she had no problem with that. So we got a lot of information about the house inside and outside that she provided on her phone and recorded that on Zoom and then forwarded that as part of the JV submission. And so, that saved some time and put her at ease as well, so that that we were accommodating and willing to work with her on her terms.
Yeah, that's great. And you said something I just want to make sure people understand too. On top of you're getting the calls, and we could talk about this here in just a minute from a competition standpoint if you had any. But when you were taking those calls, what got them to open up to you? Were you using the script that we provided in order for them to just open up to you? I know our tax assistance letter that we use, like, as soon as they get that, they want to call. And if they don't get somebody, they're going to call. But when you talk to this individual in particular, did you use like the script, or how did you go about having them open up to you?
I use the script. I believe in scripts. But then you can sort of riff off of, of that as well, which, used to talking to people in a sales situation, I can do that. But this, I didn't feel like, and I could tell that she didn't feel like this was a sales situation. So she was willing to to open up. And I really do have a heart for these people, and I really do want to help them. And so, I mean, I can say that honestly enough to know that I think is, came through in the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, I've had to sit across the table from lots of people, and some of them are days, some of them are weeks away from just losing everything. And it's a sad situation. But when we could come in and help these people, it changes the game, and it helps them out. Like, they've been abandoned by family member, friends, the state, the county, at that point, and they are just feeling hopeless at that point, at that standpoint. So when we could come in and help, it changes everything for them. And it's like a big ball of light just entered back into their life, and they're full of hope, and they've got so many different opportunities. So Mark, I appreciate you saying that. It really is about how can we create winning situations for everybody involved. And I believe we did that with this deal. And from a standpoint of like a lot of people out there that might be like, oh, wow, this is interesting. What's this about? Why don't we kind of touch on, did you feel at all with this deal? Like, was there any type of other wholesalers or other real estate investors that you felt like, you had competition with on this deal?
She said that she had some people that had made offers, but she wasn't confident in those offers. So I guess that would be the extent of the competition.
So, so in your opinion, since you've been in sales for 35 years, would you feel like because of the approach, the tax assistance part, you being able to have that individual open up and you be able to kind of walk her through a lot of different options that not a lot of people can do? Do you feel like that was like a big reason behind maybe her wanting to proceed forward with us?
I think so. I mean, human nature is, we do business with people we like, right? And so if there was that that place where we both sort of met, where she, felt that she could open up and just, unload and talk about what was going on in her life. And we got into all kinds of other things that are going on in her life.
Yeah.
With her boyfriend, et cetera, and her daughter and all of that. So that helped to sort of bring that binding together. Number one. Number two, I mean, what we offer, there's more value added in what we offer too. Like helping them to pack up, helping them to move, getting, in this case, an Airbnb for her temporarily. Yeah. I mean, there's things, there's value added that, that I think makes us over and above.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, because we did do that. We went and got the pod. We were able to do the Airbnb stuff. So we made the transition for her and her family extremely simple, which I don't think a lot of wholesalers that just send off the generic yellow letters do. So it's a big thing, and that's something when you came and JV'd with us, we took on those expenses as your partner on that, and we wanted to do whatever we could to make this as seamless as possible for everybody involved. So it made the world of difference. And then you obviously on the front end did a really great job. Now let's talk about where is this like deal and where are you in this situation? Like, are you like far away from the property? Are you in a different state? Like, did you ever look at the property in person?
No. So, I mean, I'm as far away as you could possibly be without crossing an ocean from this property. So no, I never did. I did have, like I said, I have a friend that lives and knows that area very well. So, so I've had, help there when I needed it, but no,
Yeah. Okay. So what state was the property in? Okay. So properties in Florida. And now this was a pretty interesting deal. So let's talk about what was the price that we were able to get it at, and then what were we able to turn around and sell it for? Okay. So with you being the JV on this, and you bringing us the deal, and we were able to negotiate the contract with the seller, negotiate the contract with the end buyer. Luckily for us, Mike is right beside me. So Mike, what was the purchase price? Do you remember on Mark's property? We're gonna go ahead and have Mike do that. I believe it was at.
Let me log into my FreedomSoft account and look.
Mike's going to log into our FreedomSoft account to double check. And as he's doing that, hey, go grab a copy of our brand new book. We'd love to put this in your hands. The Art of Flipping Deals. You could go grab your copy today at theflippingbook.com. Make sure you head on over to theflippingbook.com. We'd love to get this in your hands today and show you exactly how you could get free exclusive inbound leads in your business today. Make sure you head on over to theflippingbook.com. Take care. Bye. So properties in Florida, and we had an individual on the buy side. It was actually a wholesaler that brought us the buyer. So there's actually some good moving parts in here. We really made this a team effort, and it was able to work out actually pretty well. With you not seeing the property at all in person and you doing it completely virtual, how did that kind of make you feel?
Well, I trust you guys. So, I mean, I had no problem with that. I had no anxiety about that whatsoever. So, I mean, I was totally fine with that.
Awesome. And the reason why I bring that up is some people are like, oh, I need to go look at the property. It needs to be in my own backyard and all that type of stuff. And I'm here to say, like, you can do deals virtually, people. Like it's not as difficult as you may think it might be. But we could always help with that. Obviously we helped Mark with that, but Mike, what was that purchase price?
$245.
So folks at home, we purchased it for $245. So $245,000.
Sold it for deposit.
And we sold it for $305,000 with a $10K deposit. And just so you guys know, that deposit went hard. And what does that mean? That means that it's non-refundable. So we had a for sure buyer that wanted this property at $305,000, and they put down a $10,000 earnest money deposit that went hard immediately. So it was a pretty great deal in my opinion. And the buyer carried the Airbnb costs. We took care of the pod, which was roughly like $3,900 that we. Actually, a little over $4,000 that we took care of on that. So start to finish, Mike, how long did this deal take?
It was quite a bit of follow-up.
Okay, so this deal took from start to finish. So that means from Mark taking the initial call and us getting involved from the JV standpoint, it took roughly 45 days. So anything, Mark, that you would have changed or anything that you would have done differently on this deal?
Not on this one as the first one. No, but I mean, just to go back one step about the property. So I had her take some pretty extensive videos. So it wasn't just, still shots of the house.
Right.
And I interviewed her on that Zoom call video, along the way. So, that sufficed as far as, satisfying me that I've, pretty much seen what I would have seen anyway.
Yeah. And the property, if I'm not mistaken, it was zoned a weird way, which made it very attractive to the buyer on the back end. Cause it could have went like a commercial standpoint, right? It was zoned really, in a,
What happened was it was listed as a 3 and 2 or 2.5 or something. And then they had changed it, like 40 years ago, so that it
okay.
was at 6 and 6.
Oh, okay. Okay. Gotcha. And I recall that the buyer on the back end was so excited to get their hands on this deal just because of how it was zoned. So that's why, like, if people are listening to this, like 245 and we sold it for 305, like that's a decent spread from, we did an A to B, B to C on this. So for those of you that don't know, is we actually did purchase it. We purchased it and quickly flipped it to the buyer. It was all done same day. So we didn't have to have our money exposed or anything like that. It was all done same day. And everybody on the team was able to profit on this. Mark, you did extremely well on it for the amount of time. So how much time do you think you actually put into this deal, Mark, from start to finish, like working with the seller and working with us? Like, how much time do you think you actually put into it from like an hour standpoint?
I don't know, researching the property, calls to her, follow-up calls, interview. I probably had about 4 calls with her. So, I mean, you know, maybe 4 or 5 hours.
Okay. Okay. And for me, knowing on the backside what you were able to bring in on this deal, that's like you're making more money than, a neurosurgeon in some cases. So I would say you did quite well on that deal. I can't wait to get more from you. So for people that are watching this, and Mark, with your background, obviously you were doing some notes. You've been in financial services for 35 plus years. And this was kind of like your first time, like doing like the tax delinquent route that we train people on. What's maybe some encouraging advice that you would give to people that are teetering on getting involved, or maybe they are involved and just haven't, hit the go button yet on their first campaign? What would be some stuff that you would share with them?
My experience being around, as long as I have, running into so many different training companies, and maybe those companies, obviously those companies work for a lot of people, but when I met with failure with those companies in the past, I thought, well, these guys have got a system and it works for them, but it's not a system that's going to work for me, and they're making money just selling their information. And I don't get that at all with you guys at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a completely different paradigm for me, working with you guys. So I followed through, and I need to get better at following exactly what you guys teach, as far as just really fine tuning it. But, we're taking the first whack at a deal, and closing this deal on the first round. I mean, I don't think it gets much better than that. So,
Yeah.
so for people that are on the edge or teetering or whatever, or maybe don't feel as though they have the confidence that this is going to work, it definitely works. It definitely works. And I was surprised, because I'm in the midst of, several other conversations, and I was surprised just how many homes without mortgages are out there, that people have, and they need help for all other kinds of situations, like this really unusual case now that I'll talk to you guys about. It's not just simply, one kind of situation where they need to get their taxes paid and and get caught up. There's other kinds of factors that come into play because life is complicated. People are complicated, and there's all just different kinds of situations. And we seem to be able to sort of cover the waterfront in terms of being able to do something positive for these people. So,
Absolutely.
So that's what I would.
So let me ask you this. I know we're coming down to the end, but from the conversations that you've had with people from that first campaign, because you brought up a really good point, a lot of these properties are free and clear. And if people don't understand what that means, this is what it means. It means there's no mortgage on the property, essentially leaving it completely debt-free. Now, some of the liens that are on there are the property taxes. There might be some judgments that are small, but other than that, like, these people have been in the house for 20, 30, 40 years, and it's completely paid off in full. Some of these people may have inherited the property as well, but they still have been in the property for 10, 20 years. So from the calls that you've been having with people, what have you kind of determined, like, why do you think a lot of these people just are like, oh, I don't know what to do at this point? Like, we get it a lot. Like, why don't they just list it? And I would love to hear your point on, why don't they just list it with an agent? I know what my take is, but I would love to hear what it is from you too, Mark, just from having, like, I don't know how many calls you had from your first campaign, but I would love to hear kind of like your feedback on that.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to know people's motivation for something like that. Cause you do think like, well, you got all this equity in there. Why don't you just, list it but once people get behind this sort of being behind and getting these notices, I think that maybe kind of takes on a life of its own.
Yep.
And that life of its own, so to speak, just sort of dictates attitudes and behaviors that people start to adopt, and
Yep.
they freeze, or they just don't do anything, and they just kind of get set in a pattern, and they don't know what options they have necessarily, or there's a lot of people that I find that are on fixed incomes,
Yes.
and there's never going to be any. I mean, the problem's not going away, and they're never going to be able to apply for a HELOC. I mean, they're not going to be able to service the debt.
Yep.
So as this problem sort of takes on a life of its own, I mean, they just get deeper and deeper, and they feel more and more hopeless.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. Like, a lot of them are on fixed incomes. They don't have any money in the bank. They've got lots of debt. So trying to get approved for a home equity line of credit is going to be extremely challenging, especially with credit being low. And some people are like, well, they've got all that equity in the property. Why can't they just list it? I will tell you right now, the property is in either it's very outdated from like the 70s or 80s. So a lot of these people turn the property into a hoarder situation. So there's a lot of issues with the property to where it more than likely, folks, doesn't make sense to list it with an agent and try and put it at retail and then have a buyer come in and, give them some lowball offer, because that's what's going to happen if the property is in dilapidated shape. They'll come in and look at the roof. They'll be like, oh, the roof's not good. They'll go through the interior of the property. They'll check out the exterior of the property, and then they're going to see like, oh, all this needs work. And then what are they going to do, Mark? They're going to submit a lowball offer, and our offer more than likely is going to be higher. We're going to be able to help them with moving expenses. We'll be able to help them from a relocation standpoint. So lots of different things that we can do that not a lot of people would do. So I appreciate you bringing that up. So as we're winding down here, what's next? I know we talked about a next deal that's coming up in the pipeline here, but what other things do you have going on that you want to share with people that, might be encouraging and inspiring to them? What's next for Mark? I know we've got this next deal already cooking, but what else do you have going on?
Myself, but I mean, I definitely want to scale this business. I want to move into other counties, maybe other states, and scale this, because like I said to you privately in here too, I mean, I'm all in. So this is
Yeah.
what I'm.
Awesome. I love it. I love it, Mark. Any parting words from you, my friend, before we go ahead and wrap up this show?
Thank you guys for everything that you guys have done, put together. And I mean, you stay on top of stuff, which is a pleasant surprise, as far as the personal touch, texts, personal texts, phone calls, emails and whatnot. So and also updating on those JV forms, when notes are added, they're being read and they're being read in a timely way. So, I mean, I get that sense, and I do, very much appreciate that.
Awesome. Well, Mark, thank you so much. Appreciate the kind words. Congratulations on the first deal with us. That's so exciting. And I'm so happy that we were able to get that done with you. And now you're all in. You're wanting to make this your full-time thing. So I'm so excited about that for you. Thank you for sharing with people today. Like, I firmly believe by having folks like yourself come on here can just really help people break free of the normal 9 to 5, working for somebody that, they might get to enjoy the last 5, 10, maybe 15 years of their life. So I really appreciate you being able to do that, so people could have an idea of maybe, hey, I could still work, but I could also do this as maybe a side job as well. So it's just whatever type of hope we could put out there for people, that they can realize, okay, I'm going to give this a shot. I'm going to try this on the side and let's see if it works. So I believe having you come on here and saying, hey, I did this with these guys and they came through and it paid me out. I think it's great. So I love it, Mark. Thank you so much for sharing. And for those of you that are at home, or maybe you're listening to it from wherever, if you have any questions, go ahead and drop those below. This is on YouTube. It's in our podcast player as well. So if you have any questions that you have for us or Mark, drop them below and we'll do our best to get back to you as soon as possible. If you enjoyed today's show, make sure you hit the red subscribe button right below this video. Would love to have you as a subscriber, part of our community here. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast player, maybe over on iTunes, make sure to give us a 5-star review. Let us know what you enjoyed about today's show with Mr. Rockstar himself, Mark. But other than that, I'm Jason Lucchesi. Thank you so much for tuning into today's No Flipping Excuses episode. We'll talk to you later. Bye now. Hey, book your free strategy session call today by going to 2daycall.com. That's the number 2daycall.com. We'd love to talk to you about how we're tapping into 34 plus lead generation off-market strategies in your market. Most of them too are free. Let's talk about it. Let's see how we can help you and your business thrive right now. Head on over to 2daycall.com. Talk to you later. Bye.